Chapter: The Secret Science.
The priests created a secret science. Their teaching was called the science of imageness, and all the other sciences derived from it. The high priest, in order to keep the main thing secret, dismembered the science of imageness, and made the other priest think along various lines. Thus, astronomy, mathematics and physics were born later, as well as many of the other sciences, including the occult ones. Everything was structured in this way merely to fascinate people with its parts, so that no one would penetrate to the main teaching.
What is the main teaching, though? What is the science of what you call imageness, and what is its essence?
The science allows man to speed up his thoughts and think in images, to grasp the entire cosmos at once and penetrate to a micro-world, to create invisible but living image substances, and control them with the help of the great community of people. With the help of the science, many religions came about. He who came to know it only slightly possessed incredible power, and could subdue countries and topple kings from their throne.
So you mean a single person alone could subdue a country?
Yes, he could, and the scheme in this is simple.
Is even one such fact known to present-day history?
Yes.
Tell me about it. I don't seem to remember anything of the kind.
Why waste time telling you? When you get back, read about Rama, Krishna, and Moses. You will see the creation of these priests, who learned a part of the secret sciences of imageness.
All right, I will read about what they did, but will I understand the essence of the science? Try to tell me about the essence, what they studied, and how.
They studied how to think in images. I've told you about that.
Yes, you have, only I don't understand what the connection is, well, between mathematics or physics and this science.
Whoever has mastered the science does not need to write formulas, to draft and create various models. Instead, he can penetrate to the matter with his thoughts, to the nucleus, and split the atom. But this is merely a simple exercise, in order to understand how to govern human destinies, and the peoples of various countries.
Well, that's just great. I've never read that anywhere.
And in the Bible. The Old Testament gives an example of when the priests vied among themselves over who created more powerfully in images. The priest Moses and the Pharaoh were the highest priests. Moses threw his staff down in front of everyone and turned it into a snake, and the priests who were with the Pharaoh did the same thing. Then the snake Moses created swallowed the other snakes.
So all that was the truth?
Yes.
I thought it was a fiction or some kind of allegory.
Not a fiction, Vladimir. Everything was exactly as the Old Testament says about that competition.
But why did they need to compete that way with each other?
In order to show who could create a powerful image capable of vanquishing the others. And Moses showed them all that he was the strongest. After that, it made no sense for them to fight him. They needed to carry out his request, not fight. But the Pharaoh did not obey, and he tried to stop the Israelites following the leadership of Moses and the image he had created. But the warriors could not stop the nation of Israel, the nation in which the most powerful image resided. Then you can read how the people of Israel vanquished other tribes many times, and captured cities, and how they created their religion and state. The Pharaoh's glory dimmed. But when the priests of Egypt were the most powerful of all in the creation of great images, when they could calculate which actions the created image would produce among the people, Egypt, governed by priests, flourished. Of all the states we know that were created after the last catastrophe on earth, Egypt prospered longest of all.
No, wait a minute, Anastasia. Everyone knows that Egypt was governed by the pharaohs. Their pyramid tombs have survived to our day.
The role of executive power lay outwardly on the pharaohs, but the pharaoh's main task was to embody the image of a wise ruler. The important decisions were not drawn up by the pharaoh. When the pharaohs attempted to take the fullness of power for themselves, their state immediately weakened. Each pharaoh was first of all dedicated to the kingdom by the priest. Beginning in infancy, he studied with the priests and strove to learn the science of images. Anyone who mastered the basics of it could be appointed to a kingdom. The structure of power in Egypt at the time can be described like this today. The secret priests stood at the very top. Then came the priests who engaged in study and administered justice. Control over the state was performed outwardly by a council of representatives of the estates of all the priests, and the pharaoh ruled according to their laws and decrees. Community leaders had quite a bit of executive power and were considered independent. Everything was more or less as it is today. Many states have a president and a government as the executive power. The parliament, like the priests from the past, issues laws. The only difference is that in no country is there anywhere for the president to learn the way the pharaoh learned from the priest. For those who preside in a council, Duma or Congress, the terms used for today's legislature priests make no real difference. Something else does matter. They too have nowhere to learn before issuing a law. Where are legislatures to learn wisdom when the science of imageness is kept secret? This is why there is chaos in so many states.
Do you mean to say, Anastasia, that if we took as a basis a structure for governing the country like there was in ancient Egypt, everything would be better?
The structure of power would change little. Much more important is what stands behind it. If we're speaking of the Egyptian structure, then neither it, nor the pharaohs, nor even the priest of Egypt governed.
So who did?
Images govern everything in ancient Egypt. The priests and the pharaohs deferred to them. From the ancient science of imageness, a secret council of a few priests took the image of the pharaoh, the just ruler. They took the image as it presented itself to them at the time. The pharaoh's conduct, outward attire and way of life were long discussed in that secret council. Then they taught one of the chosen priests, so that he resembled the image. They tried to select a pretender out of the royal estates. But if no one of royal blood was suitable in appearance or personality, the priest could choose any priest and present him as the pharaoh. The priest pharaoh was obligated before everyone to always correspond to the conceived image, especially when he appeared among the people. Afterward among the people, each person felt the invisible image above himself and acted as he understood. When the people believe in the image, when an image is to the majority's liking, each person will be eager to follow it, and the state will have no need to build a huge bureaucracy of overseer officials. A state like that will grow stronger and flourish.
But if that was so, then states today could not get along without images. But they do, and they prosper. America, Germany, even our Soviet Union, before perestroika, was a huge state.
Without an image, Vladimir, states cannot get along even today. Today only that state can flourish relative to others, if an image rules that is more or less acceptable to most people.
So who is creating it today? There are no priests today.
There are priests today too, only we do not call them that, and they have less and less knowledge of the science of imageness. Modern priests cannot make long-term and impartial calculations. They cannot set a goal and create a worthy image capable of leading the country toward that goal.
What are you talking about, Anastasia? What priests and images were there in our Soviet Union? The Bolsheviks governed everything then. Then Lenin and then Stalin stood at the head, and then the other first secretaries. They had a Politburo. Religion then was nearly eliminated altogether. Temples were destroyed. And you say, priests.
Vladimir, look more closely. What came before the Soviet Union arose?
What do you mean, what? Everyone knows. The Tsars. Then there was a revolution, and we followed the path of socialism and tried to build communism.
But before the revolution, an image spread intensively among the people of a just, happy, and a new arrangement for the state, and the old arrangement was exposed. You see, first the image of a new state was conceived, as well as the image of a new ruler, kinder than all, among the people, and of a way each person would live happily. It is these images that led people, summoned them to fight though still loyal to the old images. The revolution and then the civil war, into which so many people were drawn, in fact were wars between the two images.
There may be something to this, of course, but Lenin and Stalin weren't images. Everyone knows they were just men, the country's leaders.
You name names believing that only people in the flesh stood behind them. In fact, Perhaps you should think about this yourself and realize that all this is far from correct, Vladimir.
Far from correct? I'm telling you. Everyone knows that Stalin was a human being.
Then tell me, Vladimir, what kind of human being was Stalin?
What kind? What kind? Well, at first everyone thought he was good and just. He loved children. They showed him in photographs and pictures carrying his little girl. During the war, many soldiers went into battle shouting for the homeland, for Stalin. Everyone wept when he died. My mother told me that when he died, nearly the entire population of the country wept. They laid him to rest in the mausoleum next to Lenin.
So, you mean that many loved him and with his name were victorious in their mortal combat with their enemies? Poems were written to him, but what do people say about him now?
Now we think him a tyrant, murderer, and bloodsucker. He sent many people to rot in prisons. His body was taken out of the mausoleum and buried in the ground. All his monuments were destroyed, and the books he once wrote.
Now do you yourself understand? 2 images have arisen before you. 2 images, but there was only one person.
Yes, one.
What was he like? Can you tell me now?
Probably not. Can you yourself tell me?
Stalin did not correspond to either the first or the second image, and therein lay the country's tragedy. Tragedies have always come about in states with significant discrepancies between the ruler and his image. All the troubles have begun from this. In such times, people fought over images. Quite recently, people aspired to the image of communism, but the image of communism weakened. Now what do you and your fellow citizens aspire to?
Now we're building, well, maybe capitalism or something else, but so that we can live the way people do in developed countries like America and Germany, so that we have democracy and plenty of everything, like they do there.
Now you have identified the image of the country, and the just ruler is based on the image of the countries you have named.
Yes, let's say the image of those countries.
But this speaks to the fact that the knowledge of the priests in your country is scant. There is no knowledge. Those who are worthy of creating the image and capable of following this path do not have the power. Usually in this kind of situation, all states have perished. History has proclaimed this for millennia.
But what is bad about us all beginning to live as people do in, say, America or Germany?
Vladimir, take a closer look yourself at how many problems there are in the countries you named. Why do they need so many police and hospitals? Why are there more and more suicides? Where do these people go to vacation from the rich and large cities of those countries? They need to appoint a growing number of officials to monitor society. All this speaks to the fact that the images are weakening among them.
So does this mean we are aspiring to their weakening images?
Yes, it does. In this way, we are extending their life briefly. When the leading images were destroyed in your country, a new image was not created in it, and everyone was lured by an image that resided in another country. If all people worship it, then your country, a country that is losing its own image, will cease to exist.
But who is capable of creating it today? There are no priests today.
There are people today too who do nothing but create images. They calculate the image's ability to attract people, and often their calculations are correct.
I don't seem to have even heard about them. Or is all this being kept in strictest secret?
Like many people, you come into contact with their actions every day.
Where and when?
Vladimir, remember, when the time comes for you to choose new deputies in the government, or a single ruler, what's called a president now, several hopefuls present their images to all. Each image is shaped by the people who have chosen for themselves the profession of creating images. Different candidates have several such people, and the candidate whose image pleases the majority the most, wins.
What image? They are all real, living human beings. They themselves speak to voters at gatherings, and they themselves appear on television.
Of course they do. But they are always advised where and how to behave and what to say, so that they correspond to an image pleasing to many. Often candidates follow the advice. Advertisements made for them too try to link their image to a better life for everyone.
Yes, they do advertise. Still, I don't quite understand what's more important, the person himself who wants to be elected deputy or president, or the image you keep talking about.
Of course, the human being is always more important. But after all, when you vote, you have not met him. You do not know exactly what he is like, and you vote for the image offered to you.
But each of the candidates has a policy program after all, and people vote for the program.
How often are those programs carried out?
They're not always carried out. They could never be carried out in full because others block the way with their programs.
This is how it happens all the time. Many images are created, but there is not full unity among them. There is no unified image capable of attracting everyone and leading them to the goal. There is no image, which means there is no inspiration. The path is unclear, and life is minute to minute, chaotic.
Who can create that image? There are no wise priests today. I'm hearing from you for the first time about the science of imageness that your forefather taught the priests.
Wait a little and the country will have a powerful image. It will vanquish all wars, and human dreams of a beautiful reality will come to pass in your country, and then all over the earth.
Chapter Genetic Code.
Anastasia spoke with passion, first joyfully, then despondently, of what had once been on earth. Some of it I believed, some not really. Upon my return, I felt like finding out about how man retains information in his memory about events not only from the moment of his birth, but from the moment of his ancestors' birth, and even the moment of the first person's creation. Specialists and scientists in this gathered several times in conferences, and here I will quote excerpts from individual statements by specialists at one round table on this issue.
For many, the assertion that ordinary objects retain information about a person might seem unusual. But if you show a cassette with a recording to someone who has never seen a tape recorder or heard its possibilities, and you say that your voice is recorded on this cassette, that he can listen to your voice when he wants, a year or 10 years later, this person will not believe you. He will think of you as a trickster. For us, though, the fact of recording and reproducing a voice is an ordinary phenomenon. I mean that something that seems unusual to us might seem quite simple and natural to others. If we take as a foundation the fact that man has yet to invent anything more substantive and perfect than what has been invented by nature, then Anastasia's ray, by which she can see at great distances, is confirmed by the existence of the cordless telephone and television. Moreover, as I see it, those natural phenomena which she uses are a more perfect realization of the artificial things we invent, like the cordless telephone or television. The memory of one person can barely retain events from 6 months ago. Another person can remember events from his childhood and can tell about them, but this does not seem to me anywhere near the ultimate limit to human memory. I do not think many scientists would deny that man's genetic code has been preserving primordial information inside itself for millions of years. The collection of additional, so-called auxiliary information is also possible during a lifetime, as well as its transmission to subsequent generations. Expressions we all know, it's hereditary, and it's inherited, in fact attest to this. Anastasia's abilities to reproduce human scenes that occurred millions or billions of years ago are theoretically possible and capable. Moreover, they could be even more precise, the more distant they are from our reality. I think that Anastasia's memory is no different from the memory of many people. It would be more accurate to say that the information laid down in her genetic code is no greater than in every other person. The difference is that she possesses the ability to access it, to reproduce it in full, whereas we do so partially.
These and other statements by specialists somehow convinced me that Anastasia could be speaking the truth about the past. I especially liked the example of the tape recording. However, the scientist invited to the round table could still not explain the following phenomenon. How could Anastasia possess information about not only the life of earthly civilizations, but also the life of civilizations in other worlds and galaxies? Not only that, she could not only speak about them, but, it seemed to me, influence them. I will try to talk about it all in order. Perhaps someone, even if only theoretically, will be able to explain these abilities of hers and understand whether they are inherent in other people or not. Anastasia herself tried to explain how she knows about them, but I could not always understand her explanations completely. In general, I will try to discuss the following situation in proper order.
End of chapter. Join us for the next segment of Co-Creation, Book 4 of the Ringing Cedar series. Where do we go in our sleep?